It's a beautiful Friday with tremendously good news, ladies and gentlemen. Thousands of layoffs at the IRS. I say it with the utmost calm and reserve. I am very excited. The layoffs have hit the IRS. They're estimating upwards of 200,000 feds may lose their jobs. And once again, Democrats are apoplectic. They can't believe it. There was protests in D.C. from federal workers being like, you can't take our jobs away. And it's just like, I think Trump may have moved a little too early on this one, because I would have loved for Democrats to defend literal tax collectors. But to be fair, it is tax season, and Trump has Democrats actually defending tax collectors. So I think they're estimating around 9,000 layoffs. Holy crap. And then we have some developments on the AOC front with Tom Homan. He's spoken up once again about the potential criminal liabilities for AOC protecting illegal immigrants. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll get a little, there's a bunch of other news. The Army saying no more transgender troops. We're not going to have that. And we'll get into Bill Burr saying that he wants, holy crap. Well, I don't want to get too aggressive in the beginning, but he wishes for... I'll put it this way. It's not that he wants to kill billionaires. It's that he wants them to not be alive anymore, which is a very bold statement. I stole it from Family Guy, by the way. I stole that joke. So let's, before we get started, my friends, we got a new episode of The Green Room up. Another episode will be up shortly. Last night, we had Nate Kane on the show, and it was funny. I was talking to Allison earlier, and I mentioned this guy, Nate Kane, is a whistleblower who say he blew the whistle on some of the stuff Hillary Clinton had been doing. And people tried to kill him. He doesn't know who. He may have been poisoned. The lug nuts on his wheels in his car, they were being removed. They had been removed, and he almost crashed. Like, his kid noticed the car was shaking. And I was talking to Allison, and she was like, it was really hard to concentrate when we were playing Magic the other day, because I kept trying to listen to what he was saying because it was so insane. Like, it's a crazy, awesome story. If you want to watch that and listen to that interview, go to rumble.com/Timcast IRL. It's premium only. You guys can go to timcastpremium.com to sign up for Rumble Premium and watch that behind-the-scenes Green Room episode where he basically talks about how someone was trying to kill him, it sounds like, I guess. But we do have another episode that'll be up tonight with Roma Nation, of course. They're joining us. But also, don't forget to head over to castbrew.com and buy coffee. Dude, I don't know what it is, but you guys rag on Ian all day, and that's fine. But holy crap, the dude sold 200 bags of coffee since this morning. We were on the Culture War show, and Ian was like, "It's great coffee, you should buy it." And I'm like, it was 1,290 something. Now it's 1,094. Ian, our normal sales, we expect to sell like 5,000 bags of one brand of coffee in like 6 months to a year, and Ian did that in a month. And now we're going on month 2 of the year, and he's already sold, I believe, around 3,000 or 4,000 bags. Whatever, people love Ian. I know the chat, they say, please no Ian over and over and over again. But people, maybe they're buying it because they know it's going to put them through college, and they're hoping that's the case. Don't forget, my friends, we have a big sponsor tonight. Shout out to NetSuite, Oracle NetSuite. So we are proud to have a sponsor on the show. We will be doing this a bit more, but NetSuite is sponsoring the show. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts, and you'll get 10 answers. Bull market, bear market, rates will rise, they'll fall. Can someone just please give us a crystal ball? Until then, over 41,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, HR into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards, more time on what's next. This is why I like NetSuite by Oracle, and you should too. Whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. So, speaking of opportunities, download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Timcast. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/Timcast. Once again, that's netsuite.com/Timcast. Real proud. We really do appreciate NetSuite. We've had them as sponsors on our audio aside. Now they're here on our live show, and we really do appreciate it. They help make it all possible. So shout out. Don't forget to also head over to timcast.com to join the Discord server. And speaking of that, joining us tonight to talk about this and everything else, we got Roma Nation.
What's going on, Tim?
Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm the host of Roma Nation. I'm also the founder of Rise of Middle America. the Roma Nation network. And you can see us at risemiddleamerica.com. We're here on Saturdays. We're at Saturdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I do some voiceover work with Seamus as well.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So it's
on Freedom Tunes, huh?
Yeah, Freedom Tunes.
Ooh, excellent, excellent. And who is this fine young gentleman?
My name's Scrapjaw. I'm the co-host on Roma Nation podcast. And I basically just hang out and fill the dead air.
Oh, that's great. we'll need that tonight.
Let's go.
So you guys got started on the Discord? Is that what it is, on the Timcast Discord server?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of
you're
fun.
here.
It was a lot of fun. So I actually started out probably in July, right after the Discord started, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do you a treat. All right, let's see if I can get some other heads in here, or try to get you more memberships by doing certain shows inside of the Discord. So I decided, you know what, I'll do my first 2 seasons there on the Discord.
Wow, dude. Well, I appreciate it. I mean, that was basically the mission of the Discord server, was because I always say, like, the Founding Fathers organized a revolution in bars and pubs.
Right.
So we want to do that with the coffee shops, but the first thing we'll do is we'll create a digital space where the people who watch this show can hang out with each other when we're not having the show. And it's been a smashing success. There's over 20,000 people are in it. And you guys are there. There's Sinoski has a show, the Quiet Part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's really quite amazing, and it is an honor and a privilege for me to have you guys here, and just to see what everyone else in the Discord server has been doing, making culture, making shows. So glad to have you. We also got Brett hanging out.
Speaking of filling dead air, that's what I'm here for, guys. What's up? It's Brett. I host Pop Culture Crisis Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. But let's talk politics tonight.
We got Phil.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's go, Tim.
Here's the story from the Washington Post, ladies and gentlemen, on this, the most auspicious of February 14th, as we are entering into the depths of tax season. Layoffs to hit IRS as Doge targets tax collections. Oh, boy. The cuts are expected to at least partially reverse the Biden administration's efforts to beef up the agency. I just want to stress, they're talking about 9,000 employees that may lose their jobs over this. And it's part of a broader move to fire up to 200,000 probationary federal employees. Tax collectors are not your friends.
Nope.
They are not trying to make sure you get your maximum refund. And Joe Biden, the Biden administration, did not hire 87,000. It was 87,000, right?
87,000.
Strange number. They didn't do that because they're going to go after the billionaires. Because there aren't that many billionaires. They did to go after you, so they can nickel and dime you into the poorhouse because they can't manage their funds. And this is so perfect. This is a 1-2 punch from the Trump administration right now. Start with USAID, show all of the American people what they're wasting your money on, so you get nice and riled up like, what is this? Gender studies in Pakistan. And then go to the IRS and say, and now we want to stop them from taking your money. Because then when the Democrats come out and say, we must protect the IRS, you go, the people that took my money for Pakistani gender studies? I ain't supporting that. So masterfully played. But let me give you some of the news. They say the Trump admin is expected to begin layoffs of thousands of employees at the IRS. 6 people briefed in the matter said as billionaire Elon Musk team begins to target tax collections. Treasury officials have discussed laying off roughly 9,000 employees still in their probationary period as part of broader dismissals across the government of recently hired workers, according to the 6 people who spoke in the condition of anonymity to reveal internal conversations. I suppose my question to all of you is, who would defend the IRS? Any of you? Any of you?
I wouldn't, but I guarantee there are Democrats that are going to do
There
it.
absolutely is, absolutely. What's funny about it is for as long as I can remember, not even just talking politics, but if you're talking amongst friends, movies and television, it's not like you've ever seen anybody give a positive portrayal of an IRS agent ever. There was a show called Warehouse 13 where their cover in the show is their IRS agents, and they don't know that at first. So everyone in the town hates them, and they have no idea why. And it's when they find out they all work for the Internal Revenue Service, so everybody in town just hates them on principle.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense.
But now we are seeing people actually get tricked. I don't know if it's tricked into it. It's almost probably out of necessity because they know that ideologically they're not allowed to speak out of line. So they don't want to actually talk positive about the IRS, but they understand that they will be looked down upon by their cohorts if they do so.
So I can't speak for how people get this mindset, but there are There is a segment of the population that I think genuinely does believe the government is a good thing, or net positive. They do good things for the people. That there's not as much corruption as the other people in the country would say there is. They think that the average person that works for the government is actually a noble person trying to do good things for the people. These are the same people that think that like universal health care would be a good, or Medicaid for all would be a good thing. They don't believe there is as much waste and fraud and abuse of power in the government. I think I think the people that are socialists nowadays, they believe that.
I don't think so.
If they didn't believe that, or at least I find it difficult to square that circle, that they don't believe the government is inherently good, but they want more of it.
No,
I can't wrap my head around that.
It's the what you call it strategy.
It's a dialectic.
No.
almost,
What's it? Piven. The Piven.
Our Piven strategy.
Yeah.
On Piven?
Yeah, it's that. They know the government is destructive. They know that it's extracting resources from the people. They know that it's being spent on garbage, and they want to accelerate the U.S. into destruction. They say this: from the ashes of the old, we shall build anew. They don't want to protect, clean, and preserve. But we're looking at a wound on America that they bandage with social spending, never cleaned and disinfected, and slapped more bandages on top of it. It's gone gangrenous. And the socialist strategy is don't let anyone know. Let it rot and fall off. And the Trump strategy is we need to go to the hospital immediately and clean this up. It's going to hurt, but it has to be done. Mm-hmm. I don't believe for a second, even the people who are just like zealously anti-Elon and Trump, they don't know or care about wasteful spending.
No, true that. And not only that, but they also think that Elon Musk is coming in to steal all your tax money to become the richest man again. Like,
imagine
well, to be fair, he needs your money to go to Mars.
Yeah,
that's right.
Imagine me believe the absolute hubris of me believing that he wants to steal my identity. Like he's not looking at my credit score and looking on positively.
The thing is, I don't like being Elon. I want to be Brett, and I'm going to take his name.
Look, I don't blame him, okay? I don't blame him.
So the tinfoil there is that Elon's really in the business of stealing up people's identities because he's going to create new AIs for them.
Well, I mean, that would be great. Facebook is posting all sorts of like AI profiles now to flood the market.
How based would it be if it turned out that Elon was actually trying to enact the plot from Westworld, where he takes everyone's identity and turns them into AI versions of themselves and puts them in robot bodies?
See, I like the idea that he creates the AI of you and it's just a better version of who you are, and then he presents it to you like, oh, don't you want to be this person? He's already a better version of you anyways.
Aspirational eye.
Yeah.
Oh, we should make... See, this is what I've been saying. I've been saying I want to do short films for so long because we need a film producer so that we can literally make the short film of Phil answers his door and Elon is standing there with another version of Phil, and then it's just like, hello, Phil. And then Phil's like, what is this? And then they tase Phil, and then they drag his body out, and then the robot takes over his life and appears on the show. And then it's just Phil's on the show like, I am a co-host on Timcast. And we're like, that's right, Phil. That was a really great point.
Very, very robotic and stuff.
So then the real Phil has to be like, maybe those IRS agents weren't all that bad anyways because now I've been taken over by an AI.
Why would the real Phil have to say that?
No, I'm saying because if like he tases you and they lock you up and bring the AI in here, then you got to get free. And they're like, okay, maybe those IRS agents weren't that bad. Sure, they were trying to steal my money, but they weren't trying to lock me in a basement and put an artificial intelligence in my place.
Just real quick, can we? We're kind of we're literally joking, but this is kind of what Democrats believe. Okay, when I see Elon Musk with a team of government employees go into the IRS, I'm like, oh man, I wonder what kind of waste, fraud, and abuse they're going to find. Democrats are like, he and his team of hackers are going to steal my identity for nefarious purposes. Like, it is the conspiratorial thinking that dark MAGA Elon wants to steal your tax information and identity for some reason. Now, look, maybe he wants to feed it into Grok. And he's like, once I get all of the tax information and data on people, I can make Grok very smart and defeat China. Maybe, but I really don't think so. I really don't think so.
It's kind of a mark as to just how partisan someone is right now, because you can talk about the people that are left versus right, but the people in the middle should not be looking at this in any type of negative fashion. And somebody who says that they're either not a Republican or says I'm not a Democrat, if you're a true independent, there's nothing about what Elon Musk is doing right now that could be seen as anything other than awesome. But I'm just surprised by the amount of people that are proving themselves to be kind of ideologically poisoned to one side or the other based on their response.
Are there people that are politically disconnected that would look at the government and say, no, everything's going great, and I think that if we make it smaller, that'll be a bad thing, and I think everybody pays just about the right amount of taxes, and I think everything's just going swimmingly.
Not normal people.
I can't. Again, these are people that I can't even create this phony person in my mind. It's
Also, it has a lot to do with, like, we talk about the amount of wasteful spending overseas, but it's not just about the amount of money that we're wasting overseas. It's the fact that bad things keep happening here and they can't ever do anything about it. There's natural disasters every 6 months and they're like, whoop, sorry, we have no money for you. If they were taking care of the people here and there were things being done properly, you could at least understand that somebody who's super statist is like, look, they're taking care of us, fine. But that's not the truth, and nobody could actually believe that.
I'm just going to shout it out right now. We need a producer. So I may be the boss, but I have no idea how any of this stuff works at this company. So we really do want to hire someone who can make short films and shows, and we wanted to for a while.
It was like this conversation has just given me so many ideas.
Bro, I really want to make a short film where we make the version of Elon Democrats think he is. Where it's like he steals everyone's information, starts replacing them with robots. That way he can take their tax money.
Does he wear Darth Vader outfit or just the Darth Vader mask and like the regular clothes?
No, he's wearing the hat and the jacket. But when he shows up to your house, when he takes the jacket off, it actually doesn't come off. It turns into a cape. And then he's like, I am Dark MAGA and you are now the robot. And they're like, nah. But no, in all seriousness, we want to hire this producer. So if y'all know anybody who makes films and short films, you can figure out how to reach out somewhere. I don't know. Maybe we can have them just tweet at Serge or something. He gave a thumbs up. We're good.
he also deactivated his X account last night.
We were just talking about.
Oh, he got me. Tweet at Brett.
No, send it to Phil. Phil is more active on Twitter than
I have a lot of followers. I don't have as many as him, but I have a lot of followers. There's no guarantee that I'm going to see it.
No,
or
you know
Ian.
what?
Or
Send
Ian.
it
Ian
to.
loves acting.
No, you know what? Send it to Raymond G. Stanley because he loves
Send
it. When
it
people
to
say,
Raymond G.
Tell
Stanley.
Tim.
Yeah.
Raymond loves that. Send it to
Yes.
Ray.
Same. Yeah.
You got to give him the pitch too. You got to give him the pitch of the movie.
Wait, isn't there legal concerns there? Because then we gotta. If you don't,
We're not asking for pitches.
No
We're asking
pitches.
for
Attach a
producers.
PDF file to the tweet. Just attach a PDF file of your idea. Send it to Raymond G. Stanley.
But in all seriousness, we're also doing documentaries too. So we're not taking pitches for anything. Right now, we're just looking for like a single producer and editor.
You should
They call
still
them
send the
predators.
pitch to Raymond G. Stanley.
No, if you send the pitch, it instantly becomes our property.
Oh, never mind. My
Yeah,
bad.
don't send pitches. In all seriousness, if we tried doing pitches before, but it's not legal. It's not illegal, but it's not legal. Meaning, the reason why no one anywhere will take solicitation is because if you get 100,000 people to send you a bunch of ideas, if in any way they overlap with yours, it causes a legal conflict of interest. So it's just like, nope, pitches all go in the garbage.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about? Elon taking over the world? Is that what?
And weird people who are now somehow being bullied into pretending like the IRS is a good thing.
I don't believe they're being bullied. I think they're just really, really
Well,
stupid.
we forget that there's still a contingency of people in the middle of America that have not been red-pilled. They have not been affected. You know, they are still working side by side the rest of us, and they're kind of head in the sand. They're well-to-do pseudo-liberals. You know,
So you're
they're
not talking about like middle America people who are struggling to get by. You're saying the people who are kind of upper middle class and
They ride
trust
the edge.
system because it's never
Yeah.
bothered them.
right. Exactly.
I mean, I don't know if those are the people that I imagine are online. Like that person I imagine is too busy going to work, coming home, and living their life than going on Twitter to argue with somebody about why the IRS is.
They don't go to Twitter to argue. They go to Facebook to argue in my township.
Yes, they do.
Luckily, I have not had a Facebook.
That's where they're at. Dude, Facebook is where the normies really live.
Private groups, right?
The private groups. Like, and if you go like Springfield, when I went down there, I got in on one of their private groups, and it's more like X than most of Facebook. But my township where I live, oh my God, the Karens run the show.
Oof. Well, let's jump to this next story from NPR. Layoffs accelerated. Federal agencies with more cuts to come. Oh boy, it's not just the IRS. They're coming for everything. The Pentagon and the Department of Housing and Urban Development are gearing up for budget cuts and staff reductions, while layoffs hit employees at the Department of Agriculture, the CDC, the Environmental Protection Agency. Multiple sources told NPR. But wait, Forbes says as 200,000 recent hires could be affected by these layoffs. My understanding was that Trump basically said anybody on probation is fired, right? Oh, they're saying 2,000 probationary employees at the Department of Energy are going to be fired. Yeah, okay, so
Does that mean recent hires?
Yeah. Okay. So they're in a probationary period. Trump, this is clever. Trump's basically saying, who can we fire? And they're like, well, there's no protections for probationary employees. Yeah. How many are there? 200,000? Axe them all. Trump is going to... Is this the first time Republicans actually made the government smaller?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the first time in my lifetime, you know.
Didn't Calvin Coolidge?
Silent Cal.
I mean,
wow.
Feels just like yesterday.
He's my favorite president.
We're going back to the good old 1921. Ugh. 1923. Mm-hmm. Ah, yes, old Calvin Coolidge.
Silent
Cal. More people don't talk about it. That's probably why.
That's why he's called Silent Cal. He was a fairly innocuous president. He did things like allowed the country to kind of do its own thing, and he didn't have the opinion.
He let women vote.
The federal government didn't need to be involved in everyone's life all the time. So,
well, I don't know how you reconcile that with him having women vote.
Well, I mean, I don't think that was actually. It was an amendment. He doesn't have any authority. Oh, okay. There you go. Anyways,
so he had strong support for women's suffrage.
Did he?
Old Silent Cal. Yep. Yeah. So they say.
I do imagine that there's at least a contingent on the left that even if you're not necessarily politically inclined, like I imagine there's a lot of women who hear about 200,000 people losing their job and they just don't like the idea of people losing their job, not realizing that is your money that's paying for it, or at least not really connecting that those things go hand in hand.
There's the idea, and as an abstraction of shrinking the government, most people are like, yeah, I dig it. I like the idea. The idea of making cuts to the government as an abstraction, yes, I like the idea. As soon as you give someone one anecdote of someone hurt because their job was cut when you made those cuts, all bets are off. Whether they actually want to have cuts to the government or not, totally, they have, oh, well, wait a minute, blah, 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 blah. That's why cutting the government is so hard. There's not only are there anecdotes that you're going to hear of people that were hurt, because it is going to hurt people's lives. Like an honest estimation of cuts in the government means that people are going to have significant changes in their lives, because they're going to have to change their jobs and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel bad because some of these hardworking people in McLean, Virginia, are gonna have to give up their third summer home.
Who was the guy that you had on your show when we were still on Timcast LFR?
LFR family.
He made a post a couple weeks ago, and he said, somebody explained this to me. I get it that the government is spending excessively, but why does my daughter have to lose her grant money that she earned? That's right. And I sat and thought about it. And I went and did what I do, and I made a meme, and it was a good meme. And I went and I found an old school diagram of someone applying a really bad tourniquet. The one that's like a T-shirt and a stick,
Oh, I remember this.
What Trump is doing is, like you were talking about earlier, ripping the Band-Aid off and treating the wound. I said to the guy, it's like you complaining about your toe going numb when your femoral artery is bleeding out. Trump is stopping the bleed right now. And so eventually we might be able to keep that leg. She may still be able to get her grant money out of merit, right? That's the point of all of this.
And not just that, but like you can only imagine like what happens if you don't. We haven't gotten to that point yet. But if we do, and we default on whatever money or taxes or anything that we bring in, then what happens? We've never been at that point yet, and I think
Well, that's because the Federal Reserve keeps printing.
right.
Well, yeah.
Oh man, the system is so. I got to be honest. I don't even think the government knows how money operates in this country.
Most people in the government, I imagine, don't.
Yeah.
The average person, again, is still under the impression that you get taxed to pay for things for the government. The tax money that you pay, the reason you have to pay the taxes is so that way the government can do things. It's just not how it works. The government prints the money whenever they want to do something. If they appropriate, they write a bill that needs funding for it, and the funding is a part of the bill. They're going to authorize the Treasury to print up that money so that way they can do whatever it is that they want to do. That's the way our system works now, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, there are people that have different opinions on that. But the idea that you need taxation in order to pay for things, no. Taxation is there's two reasons they tax. One is so that way there's less money in the system, so that way to manage inflation, and they use two different means to manage inflation. One is taxation, one is the interest rate, and that's all it is.
And if you look at what's going on here,
Real quick, it's because they spent your money already.
Yeah.
yes,
They spend your money through the creation of money, through creating debt on paper, or through just literally signing away debt, and then they're like, we got to pull more money out because we spent too much.
Another thing about this is if you look at the amount of people that are getting laid off, it's kind of like we were talking about before the show about Elon Musk. It might have been Phil when we were on PCC earlier. Like Elon Musk goes in and he buys Twitter and he fires like almost everybody, but it's not like the app stopped working for people. And for most of us, we understand that despite all of these layoffs, it's not going to prevent the government from working at the rate that it's working at now, because it already doesn't work efficiently anyways.
Yeah.
But weaponized empathy is a very, very strong motivator when it comes to leftist politics. So as far as articles to be written and stories to be told that are going to go along way and kind of humanizing a lot of these people to people on the left, it will work because they're not going to want to see a bunch of people out of job, even if in your pragmatic mind you know that something like this eventually has to happen because something has to give if we want to fix things.
Well, look on the bright side, all of the deportees that are no longer here, there's jobs.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, these people that have been sitting around doing nothing, they now get to learn how to go do a real job, maybe.
Well, this is the thing. When Democrats were complaining that if we deport, they came out. It was that Kelly Osbourne. She was on The View. I think it was The View, right? When she said, who's going to clean your toilet? And they were all like, whoa. I was like, no. Don't get mad. It's the former IRS agent.
Yes.
That's it. See, that's why we need this film, this producer, so we can make these films. I got a great idea. It's we say we're hanging out, and I look at Phil and I'm like, man, we got some cleaners in here. And then we go on Google, type in cleaners, and it's like former IRS cleaning service, and a bunch of IRS agents come and start mopping my floor.
Well, no, it's not that. That was in 2016. Now the joke is who will pick the crops. Because of 2020. So it will have to
be so funny. A commercial for a farm where it's a bunch of FBI agents picking crops.
We picked your pockets, and now we pick your crops.
Ooh, there you go. Solid.
It's a commercial for the IRS Farm Workers Association.
I like the idea of we picked your pockets. Now you're going to pick the crops. That's a great line. It'll
Learn to farm.
Learn to farm. It would be solid in a little 30-second bit or whatever. Look, I mean, the idea that the average government employee is there for your benefit, they're not. They don't think of your benefit. There are a handful that might think they're doing something altruistic. Most of them think, this is important because because I'm important, not because what I'm doing is important. And they're just looking to pay their bills. They're looking to make sure their kids can get to college. They're looking to be able, get as much as they can for themselves as, and in the time that they're allotted. And then they want to have a pension. And that's what the government offers, really. It offers what they consider a secure job with a good pension and the ability to go up through the ranks, the whole GS, whatever it's called, the structure and stuff. You can get raises, you can get promotions and stuff if you just put your head down, do the job. It's just a job. They're not. The only time they talk about how they're public servants is when they're trying to defend their job. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with, wanting all those things, because we've all been sold that. That's the American dream. Do better than your parents did. And my kids do better than I am, right? And none of us want these people to not have that opportunity. But let's just be honest about the state of this government and the kind of people they've been hiring in the last decade is how many of them are actually having families and forwarding society.
Well,
so they're not really doing the American dream, even though it's their own dream, right?
Can't a certain amount, I imagine that a certain amount of the ones, especially if they're high enough up in the government, that they can go work private sector anyways, because that's where a lot of the times, if you're high enough up in the government, that's your exit strategy anyways.
Yeah.
Let's jump to this next story from the New York Post. White House trolls illegal migrants with Valentine's Day card featuring Trump and Homan, "We'll deport you." It says the White House X literally posted this. It says, "Roses are red, violets are blue. Come here illegally and we'll deport you." And it's angry Trump and Tom Homan on a pink card with hearts in the background. I love this administration.
It's a good thing. And there are people that are going to be all upset because it's mean, whatever. But it is a good thing to tell people from other countries it is a bad idea to come to the United States illegally. Like, that's something that we should all be able to say, yeah, it's a good thing to tell people don't come to the U.S. And it was a bad thing when Joe Biden was like, people should surge the border.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't think we're ever going to live through another administration like this. I don't think there is another person that will be able to put together something like this in our lifetime.
I don't know.
I mean the mimetic quality of it. I'm not saying that there can't be somebody who's as effective politically.
No, I don't know, because this is a symptom of a change in a generation and a culture. They're doing this thing because of the people who work for this administration. This is our generation. We are different from the last. We are not as, I don't know, I guess stodgy and tied to the rules in the same way. There's a bit of irreverence in all of this. So I kind of imagine that moving forward, we might still see more of this stuff.
It is a good thing that the Republican Party has, or at least the MAGA wing of the Republican Party, has become actually adversarial, or has allowed for a representation of the people in a way that is adversarial to the government.
I agree.
The reason so many people called it the Uniparty was because the Democrats and the Republicans were both, at the end of the day, pro-government. Right? The Democrats were pro whatever the government wanted. The Republicans were pro 90% of what the government wanted.
They were a speed bump.
They were a speed bump. It was we've all heard the the meme of, whoa, slow down there, Democrats. Like the Democrats will get their way. We just can't do it this fast. And that's essentially what the Democrats were. With the MAGA Republicans, or with the new
America First
Republicans, there's actual repealing of things, or at least attempts, like real tangible attempts to shrink the government. Republicans now they're going to have to look at a Donald Trump presidency, and the American people are going to say, at least the conservatives, the Republicans are going to say, this guy actually made cuts. Are you going to do that? And if they don't do that, there are going to be people that are going to say, look, we're not voting for that guy again, because we know that Donald Trump, and it's not about, there are people that are going to hear this and think that I'm saying that Donald Trump is some kind of great guy or whatever. The point isn't that Donald Trump is great. It's that Donald Trump is doing the things that the conservatives have wanted for a long time. Every single conservative has talked about getting rid of the Department of Education. Donald Trump is making actual moves to attempt to get rid of the Department of Education. If there's no more, you can just talk about it and then get the votes and then continue to get the votes. You actually have to do stuff, and Donald Trump is proving that you can.
There was a point we talked about like a year ago, Phil, where somebody put something through about dismantling the Department of Education, and I rolled my eyes and I said, I hate it because a lot of the times it feels like a form of virtue signaling, and we know that it's not going to go anywhere. And you said to me, no, it's good because you need to keep the idea alive that people believe that it's possible. You understand that it doesn't necessarily seem that in this moment that's going to happen. I don't remember who it was at that time that did that, but that was just like a year ago, and here we are actually seeing that come forward. And I said, I don't think we'll ever see that in my lifetime, and I was wrong.
Well, I mean, I'm thankful, and again, I like the fact that Donald Trump is doing it, but it's not like it's not about Donald Trump the guy. Although it might be that Donald Trump is the only guy that could do this, that has the courage to do this, but anyone that would actually go in and say, I'm going to make these cuts, I would be behind, right? Like if you got a guy like Rand Paul doesn't have the charisma, and he's probably not tall enough to ever be the president. But if Rand Paul got in, I would expect him to do these type of things because these are the kind of things that he would have been campaigning on. The reason I supported Ron Paul was because these are the kind of things that he was campaigning on. So maybe Donald Trump, whether it be Donald Trump or whether it be someone else, I don't care. But these are the things that I want, and these are the things that I wanted before Donald Trump was ever running for president. Before 2016, I was a libertarian-minded Ron Paul guy that was like, we need to cut the government. The government is too involved in people's lives, and this is a decade ago now, or over a decade ago. And now to see that Donald Trump's delivering the stuff that I've been wanting for the better part of the past 2 decades, for 15 years, how could I not be happy about it? How could I not support it? This is literally a libertarian's wet dream going on right now,
And what Donald Trump is doing is he is doing textbook corporate corporate project management. He's finding the people that can actually do the jobs that are needed to be done. He's bringing them together, getting them in the room, and the liberals on the left have excommunicated their top people.
Yep.
Tulsi, RFK, Elon, they all have their strengths.
Biden.
And so once they've all come together, it's like, oh, I see what he's doing.
It is fascinating how Democrats are attacking RFK Jr. There's a viral thread where they're like, here's a man who was running as a Democrat, then an independent, heavily critical of Trump. And when he tried to join Kamala Harris and got rejected, he went and bowed to Trump and now is some kind of MAGA hero. And I'm like, let's just rephrase that, okay, for you liberals out there. RFK Jr., who does not represent the majority or plurality of conservative right-wing views, decided to aid and assist them against Kamala Harris, helping Trump to win a victory. Trump rewarded him with a position in health. Trump supporters are happy he did this because they won, and you're calling them losers. Like, this is why they lose.
Yeah.
They don't understand alliances. They don't understand loyalty. They don't understand honor.
And not only that, but I mean, they didn't just screw him over once; they screwed him over twice.
Yeah. Yep. And then, not to mention, as this RFK Jr. was friends with a lot of these Democrats. When it came time to get voted in, they all called him an evil liar, charlatan, and all these other nonsense things.
Also, didn't Bernie then vote against Tulsi?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And she endorsed him.
Yeah.
She sacrificed her career for him.
Gave up her career for him.
This is some of the look, man, I'm sorry. There are people out there, they're like, my family are Democrats. You can't square this. Tulsi Gabbard was supposed to, she was the darling of the DNC. She was a military, she was active, she was a military reserves, I believe. So she's a military, progressive, woman of color, rising star in the Democratic Party. And they said, endorse Hillary. And she said, I think Bernie's the right choice. They went after her in the DNC with pitchforks and torches for having done that. Yep. And they started calling her all these awful names. And boy, did Hillary want to destroy her. And she did all of that for Bernie. And then when it came time to get a position at DNI, Bernie voted against her because that man has no honor.
Well, yeah, like you said, they don't have loyalty to any of the people there. They have loyalty to the party because they're not allowed to think outside of the party anyways. You're not allowed to hold any opinion that goes against what is mainstream DNC. And when she was then pushed back on, and when she should have taken, she should have been the heir apparent in a lot of ways, and she destroys Kamala in that first debate back in 2020. And somehow in 2024, we end up with Kamala running for president and her on the other side. And anybody with a brain understands that it should have been the other way around.
And that clip came back to haunt her so hard. I saw that thing come around. It was like a boomerang. It went around one time, hit her, knocked her off the stage. A couple of years later, she turns back around and hits her on the other side of the head. It's like, yep. I mean, what'd you think was going to happen? She literally just was a nobody all the way up to the top that did nothing for anybody. And nobody voted. Yeah. Like nobody voted for. Oh, okay. I know that look.
Yeah.
You know what's really sad about Bernie Sanders is that he sold his soul for what, $1 million? It's like, bro, I mean, come on, you were worth a lot more than that. You could have held out for more money. Man. He was this working class left populist hero. He makes just over $1 million off a book, and he buys his third summer home, and now all of a sudden he's like, whatever the Democrats say.
I think that he's ideologically possessed personally. Like yeah.
No.
I do.
No, Bernie back in the day was, and then they offered him, the deal, and he took the deal, and I think that proves he's not ideologically possessed at all. AOC is not ideologically possessed either. AOC will say whatever the money tells her to say, as evidenced by as soon as she got elected, she backtracked on Palestine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, these people are just kind of like, you mean look, I get it. AOC was a bartender. It's an honest job. And she got to be a member of Congress. All of a sudden, people in media were saying, I love your work. You're amazing. And she didn't want to lose that. And Nancy Pelosi and the rest of them come to her and say, you will be a bartender in 2 years unless you do what we tell you. And she said, please don't take this away from me.
I think people like AOC and possibly Bernie Bernie less so. I think Bernie's a coward at his core. But I think people like AOC, I think that the way that they probably presented the situation to her is you can do more for more people in the long run if you work with us, as opposed to just being like, oh, here, we'll write you a check. I don't think that there was, I think that AOC is young enough and idealistic enough to think, if I stay in Congress and if I get into a position of leadership in Congress, I can make actual real change and et cetera, et cetera. And possibly I think she might actually have presidential aspirations.
She's also somebody who has come across the aisle to join with things with people like Ted Cruz.
Or Matt Gaetz the stuff on the stock market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Insider trading. Yeah, I heard the clip of Jon Stewart yes-queening over her over that.
I heard AOC is pregnant.
She says she's not.
That was a few months ago. She said she's not.
Recent.
There's a rumor on
nice
X.
way to say she's fat.
Yeah. Let's jump to this story from Fox News. We have this from Fox. Homan and AOC clash over webinar to help immigrants. I'm going to pause you, Fox News. It was illegal immigrants. And evade ICE raids. I thought I educated her. Homan suggested Ocasio-Cortez could be impeding ICE enforcement. I just want to pause real quick for Fox News on this one. It says illegal immigrants right above the headline, and you can click on it. The title just says immigrants, but then it mentions ICE. Why are you conflating the two, Fox? Come on, don't do that. Anyway, the story picked up last night, but it's advanced a little bit as Tom Homan and Eric Adams appeared on Fox. And, President Donald Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, on Friday clashed with AOC over a webinar she hosted. Quote, let's pray that she is not educating the next murderer of a young college nursing student on how to evade arrest by ICE. Homan told Fox News Digital on Friday, how many more young women have to be raped, murdered, and burned alive until she wakes up? Homan had said, on the Ingram Angle, that he had emailed the Deputy Attorney General asking whether AOC's hosting of a Know Your Rights with ICE event on her Facebook page could count as impediment to federal law enforcement. Yikes. AOC... then, she put out this tweet saying maybe she's going to be in trouble. We did talk about it a little bit the other day. But interestingly, I think the narrative is moving in this direction. I'd like to advance this narrative. This is why we're doing this segment. I want more people asking the question of when does it become illegal when you are aiding and abetting illegal immigrants? Yeah. And perhaps majority of this country would agree. AOC having a webinar about like constitutional rights doesn't meet that criteria. Maybe the average American would be like, I don't know. She's explicitly trying to provide information on how to avoid detection. It's one thing to say, if you are stopped by law enforcement, here are your rights. It's another thing to say, if you go to these locations at this time, if you see people who look like this, that's not about your rights. It's about providing information to allow criminals to evade law enforcement, and you are encouraging them to persist, which is a crime.
You've heard
I
about
want this question asked.
You've heard about the cute winter boots, right?
Oh yeah.
That's their code.
Well, explain it.
That's so cute winter boots. This is the code word or phrase that lefties are using to say basically, hey, it's really icy out today. You know, it's very convenient of them to use that terminology, and that's what they're talking about. And so they're actively plotting to help people that they know are here without proper credentials, you know, in the States illegally. And so, you know, if you hear somebody in public saying, you know, cute winter boots, or it's pretty icy out today. I mean, lately, honestly, where we're from, it has been. But the cute winter boots is a dead giveaway.
Right. And then on top of that, you know, what happens when, you know, the officers are trying to find a certain person, something bad happens because they were tipped off in the beginning, and, you know, who's going to be responsible for that?
Exactly.
I've never heard the cute winter boots.
Yeah, it's a thing. I keep tabs on Springfield, Ohio. Shout out to you guys down there. They're really trying to turn their town around. When the Trump administration decided that they were going to start talking about, you know, if you're somebody that's in a position of authority, of power, and you're assisting with, you know, immigrants, illegal immigration, and it's not just if you're a mayor or if you own businesses, that entire town is on the take. There's an entire pipeline through the NGOs.
Oh, yeah.
With the Haitians. We had a video. I went and I interviewed a tow truck driver, and it got 50,000 views. It's on our Roma Nation YouTube channel. And this tow truck driver was going on about, because they're rubber stamping at the DMV their licenses, and they're just flipping brand new cars over. Our government has been giving through the temporary protected status thousands of dollars to these immigrants. These are people actually here legally because of the temporary protected status, which I think is getting rescinded, or they're working on it. So it's kind of messy on that. It's not as easy to deport the Haitians as it is other people that are just here.
Wasn't it as
Well,
little...
now that they got rid of the TPS stuff, huh?
I believe so. And so Springfield, Ohio, right now, they're trying to get some of their active citizens, get them on the council of their town so they can push these corrupt people out. So it's like, it's churches, it's NGOs, it's the temporary service, temporary work service.
Yeah.
That's doing it. They own there's like one guy that owns everything in the pipeline to do it all, to get the money. And the hardest part for them to do is to track the money once it gets to the state level, because not every state has the same reporting standards on the money that comes from DHS and CBP and all of that, which is where a lot of that cash is, that in FEMA, because FEMA is under DHS, right? So that is a big mess. And a lot of it's hidden, and it's a huge money laundering scandal. And if Elon's out there listening to this, you need to go to places like Ohio and talk to people, talk to the congressman, get Jim Jordan, you know, whoever it is that's in the place down there in, I think it's Clark County, that district. Talk to them. These guys need help. They need somebody that can really go in there and clean up that town, because it's really destroyed it.
You were going to say something. I don't know if you...
I was, to your point, remember we were looking at how much money that these towns were actually getting. And I think what's Springfield? What 20,000 people, if that?
Yeah, it's like 50,000 people. I mean, it's actually a city in decline. A lot of Rust Belt, Middle American towns are in a state of population decline since the 70s, 60s, 70s. And Springfield's no different. And the whole point of bringing the migrants in there in the first place, if you go back to this, I think this is a magic year, 2014. So we need to figure out what the common thread is with 2014, because that's where all of the pardons start. That's when a lot of this illegal immigration schemes started in Clark County down there. And they cited population decline in that county. They're like, we need to replace this population to the tune of like 20, 30, 40,000 people. And guess how many people they've imported into that town? Exactly that amount, right? So this has been going on for longer than just, this last year when Trump was talking about cats and dogs. So,
well, the program, we've talked about the program to disseminate these people throughout the country. It was run by Health and Human Services. It was called the Refugee Resettlement Program, and the point was not just for Ohio, but for the country more broadly. And it's something that Musk has talked about. The point was to take people that were looking for asylum, or basically anyone that came here illegally, just give them the status of asylum seekers, and to disperse them through the country, so that way they can the first thing they want to do is change the census for 2030, because that would hopefully what they're hoping for is to change the makeup of the population, so that way they can have a more Democrat, or the Democrats can have a better chance of winning, and then eventually have these people get amnesty and have them become American citizens. And again, with the goal of having them vote Democrat. The goal was a one-party system here in the United States, and we were very, very close to having that be a result of these policies. And now that we have the revelations from the USAID stuff from Doge, that was all being funded by the government. The government was spending the American people's money, spending money that they printed up for these programs to affect the political outcomes in the United States. That's entirely illegal. That's completely illegal. That is totally contrary to the whole narrative that the Democrats and the left spin, which is democracy. It's our democracy, our democracy. That's all BS. It was all a lie, because they wanted to have a single party rule, and that's antithetical to what the United States is built on.
And let's appeal to the humanitarian side of this. This is when we're complaining about people being brought here for labor purposes, or for being milked for the NGO money, all of that funding. That's human exploitation. They're exploiting people from other countries and bringing them in here and just loading them up with, welfare money that eventually will dry up. It'll get revoked. And what happens then when you bring people to a country, from a country, to a nice country, from a country that has been destroyed systematically and through natural disasters like Haiti, where they have diametrically opposed cultures? They're not brought here to assimilate. Like Tim, I remember when you were over in Northern Europe, and you went into those ghettos, right? Or what they called the no-go zones, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where they had generations of people that came in that were not properly assimilated. That conversation you had in the bar with those guys, and I think it was one guy was from Germany there, that was really eye-opening. That's the very same thing we see in Springfield or in other parts around the country, is where they brought here under pretenses of, oh, these are people, we want to help them. Yes, they come from places that war-torn or natural disaster torn, but then they're being exploited, which is horrific.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really bad situation for all involved when it comes to the stuff at the illegalities that have been going on around the border.
What I guess they don't care to understand, or just don't understand, is it's a generational problem. And one of the stories we got out of Sweden was in the city of Södertälje. There were the children of migrants who are now adults in a car with a guy standing up in the sunroof, opening fire with an automatic weapon on a bank. And these are the 20-year results of bringing in people and not providing proper assimilation. And I mean it, providing. What they did in Sweden was they just told them all, just do whatever you want. You're welcome here. Yep. The problem is Swedes are all incredibly racist. And so when the government was trying to do this either economic thing or this like, look how noble we are thing, we're not racist. They're very racist. They ended up bringing in a bunch of people from Somalia who, when these people tried to get jobs, could not because the white Swedes didn't want to hire them. And it's really funny how hoity-toity and like progressive they claim to be. And so what happens is these Somali refugees form enclaves in parts of the country where they all start moving around each other because that's the only way they could work and provide for each other because they were largely being dismissed. They have children who grow up in a Somali refugee enclave. These children are Swedish, but they're not from Somalia. And white Swedes call them Somalis.
Yeah, they're Swedish by nationality, but the Swedes, like
Exactly.
the Swedish people, have been the Swedish people for a long time, and the nationality of those people, it's part of their culture and stuff. It's who they are. Like in the United States, we can get away with that kind of stuff because we don't have the same kind of deep roots. There have been Swedes have been there for 1,000 years.
But, so I'll put it this way: we don't got to call them racist. We can just say multiculturalism does not work the way these transnational, I love that word, interest groups think it will. And so they decide to bring large portions of Somali individuals and drop them in Sweden. And what did they find? It completely did not work. Their cultural values were different. Swedish people did not tolerate Somali refugees. And it exacerbated this problem until we ended up with stories in the past decade or so. When I went to Sweden over this, story with Trump, only a couple of months before we got there, someone, for no reason, threw a grenade onto a balcony where there was an 8-year-old British child who was on vacation with the family and he got injured. Or I don't know exactly how severe the injury was, but it was a serious attack. Grenade attacks happening. I think Sweden has more grenade attacks than like most other countries that are not at war. I think the stat was Sweden has more grenade attacks than any other country that is considered in peace. Grenade attacks. And
That's so wild.
It's because the gangs were buying old grenades from the Balkans wars or whatever, and then using them in their conflicts. So the issue is largely you cannot take two entirely different cultures and then mash them into each other.
Right.
You'll get conflict. Yeah. We don't want the conflict, but this is what's been happening.
That's the other concern in Springfield is that because of the temporary protected status, I went around to some, and I should have did a video on it. And I did go around to some of the gun shops because there was an interview with a girl who allegedly worked for a big box store that sells firearms. And she was saying that because of their protected status, they could go in and just buy guns because they were here legally. So they are not, because they had paperwork and everything. Now, I don't know how it works, but she said it was working that way. And I went around and I asked a couple of stores, and one guy was really terse with me, but we made friends after a while and got talking, and I bought some ammo from him. But he was saying, look, if you can fill out this form, and he had a secondary form. He's like, you check this out. And at the bottom, it says, if any of this, and it's basically a condensed 4473. But he says, if you failed that check, I keep your money. You pay me up front. If you fail the background check, I keep it. I keep the gun, everything, and you're out of my shop. So he's very serious about it. But he said, look, I have people that come in here all the time. They pass it. They're fine.
Really?
Yes.
That's according to I'm just googling the AI search, but according to the Brave AI, it says that Ohio residents must be U.S. citizens to legally purchase firearms.
Yes.
Not that they're going to check.
Okay, so
someone shows up with a driver's license and does a background check. I've never been citizenship tested.
So here's the thing. Big box stores go by nationwide standards, right? Ohio gun dealers, and I talked to about...
This is federal law.
Yes.
This is federal law. You have to be a citizen. The federal law says that you have to be a citizen.
You have to be a citizen?
Yes, that's what,
that's
what it's saying here.
Then somebody's breaking the law, because I talked to both the big box store guys, and I played a little game. We have a friend of ours that lives in Ireland, and I was like, hey, a buddy of mine wants to come in and go hunting. And so I gave him a scenario. I was like, but he's a little bit sketched about, our process. He wants to know how everything is. And the guy told me straight up he has to have legal residency. as a citizen. He doesn't have to be. He said that he didn't say citizenship. He said residency, and if he wants to come in and buy his own firearm. So there's something with the TPS, something about residency. If you're saying citizen, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just know what I heard when I talked to these FFLs. So the local FFL said, look, if you're not in Ohio, if you don't have an Ohio driver's license, I'm not selling you anything. Because the local mom and pop gun shop owners, they are way more protective of their FFLs than a big box store is.
Let's jump to this next story from TMZ. Millionaire Bill Burr says billionaires are rabid dogs who deserve to die. That's a pretty bold statement from a guy with a net worth of around $10 to $20 million, according to a cursory Google search. I've also heard stories that he owns a helicopter. Good for him. Bill Burr doesn't want to eat the rich, but he does want to kill them. The comedian went off on billionaires in a recent podcast episode, comparing them to rabid dogs who need to be put down. He made the comments on his Monday morning podcast, blaming billionaires for dividing the country, hoarding all the wealth, and creating a situation where working people can't afford rent and need 2 jobs just to stay afloat. Bill Burr, of course, is one of the most deeply troubled and ignorant individuals in media. He may have a funny presentation, but boy, is this guy dumb.
Yeah.
He is one of the stupidest people I've ever had the displeasure of listening to, except when he makes funny jokes. Those are okay. He says that the widening wealth gap in America is bad for this country because parents have to work so much they'll never get to see their kids. And the ramifications are dire. For Bill, all of these problems can be traced back to greedy billionaires who want to divide and conquer. If Bill had an IQ that was in the triple digits, perhaps he would understand that makes literally no sense. But hey, he's a comedian, not a rocket scientist.
We were talking about this a little bit today on PCC.
You should listen to our episode today because Phil absolutely went off. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because, the people that Bill thinks that he's being, compassionate about, those people look at billionaires and they look at Bill and they think that they're both rich. And so this class warfare that he's fomenting, the people that he thinks he's on the side of will eat him too.
It's not that, though. It's that Bill's just genuinely stupid. Because, any honest assessment of the current cultural divide in this country does not lead you to conclude that billionaires are all conspiring to make it happen. This is what I tell you, my friends, you know what I can't stand? You got people on the internet and they're like, the Jews all the time. And I'm like, guys, it's not one group doing anything. And they go, yes, it is. Then you get the woke saying it's the white privilege, the white colonial. No, it's not. It's not one group. There's disparate special interests that have amassed power in a variety of different ways. Sometimes they collude together, but they are all in different areas. People like Bill Burr are just as stupid as the anti-Semitic people and just as stupid as the woke people who hate white people and the colonialism people. I've long said, if you want to figure out which conspiracy cult to exist in, just figure out which group you hate the most. If it's the 1%, you can hang out with Occupy Wall Street people like Bill Burr. If you're an anti-Semite, there's a group of white nationalist anti-Semites that are waiting for you. You can blame, if you hate white people or if you hate cis heteronormative patriarchy, that group exists. All of these groups want to put the entirety of all blame in a single group of people. And it doesn't actually play out that way. If Bill Burr took 10 seconds to even Google search how basic economics worked, he'd be like, oh, that makes literally no sense that I just said that.
He says in the clip, he says that there's so much being produced in this country and there's so much money being made in this country that it's abhorrent that all of this stuff is happening. I said, well, that may be true. Amazon may be making billions upon billions of dollars every year. But what you should be asking the question is why are you on your income not able to make a living, and then wonder why you're being taxed so much and so little of that money is coming back to you in a way that's actually effective.
The picture is very, very massive. But the idea that he is literally stating that the billionaires all get together and go, shall we have the rabble fight each other? Liberal and conservative. It's not happening at all. You got billionaires that are pro-Trump. You got billionaires that are anti-Trump. Sometimes the billionaires switch their positions. They are not fomenting or doing any kind of crackpot conspiracy. Half of them don't even understand politics. Zuckerberg doesn't know or care about politics. He's just milling about whatever the CIA tells him to do.
Well, and most of them anyways, as you know, if you look at any of these companies, granted, we're seeing a large shift right now in policies from tech companies that are seeming to move slightly the other direction as the pendulum swings. But it's not like they ever gave to one one party. They gave to both parties, assuming that they're going to try and get favors in return by giving to both of them. But when he talks about all of this, he's talking about it as if there's 3 or 4 people that are causing all of these problems. It's just far more complicated than that.
Yeah, it's the same thing when they talk about taxes too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, they need to pay their fair share, but yet their
Best option would be for you to pay less taxes rather than that guy pay more.
Exactly.
Like if the idea here is that you feel wrong done by, it's not that you want this other guy to be as wrong done by as you were. The idea is that they should do less to you and less to him as well. Like they should take less of your money and less of his money rather than trying to take more of his money to even out the score so that you feel as if both of you got screwed equally.
Well, I mean, he says it himself that he thinks it's a zero-sum game. The reason you're poor is because of someone else. It's really easy to convince people that are struggling that it's someone else's fault. Just like what Tim was saying, you can find someone to blame very easily, and that's all Bill's doing. He's just catering to the inclination, the people that already have an inclination to hate the rich. But the thing that he's missing is he's the rich too. Like the people that are billionaires, like we were talking about this morning, like Elon Musk employs a lot of people at Tesla and SpaceX and all of the companies he owns, and Bezos employs a lot of people at Amazon, and the guy, and the Walton family, they employ a lot of people at Walmart. All of those companies, or those 3 companies, make life possible for thousands of Americans, probably tens of thousands.
What if you want to talk about, like, if he was more in depth, he's like, what if we're talking about the people at BlackRock buying up all of the homes so that people don't have access to housing and then driving up the rent? There's a conversation to be had there, but he's not going to go that in depth.
That's the board, but even like the people that own BlackRock are like everybody that owns some kind of 401k. Everybody that has their savings in the stock market. If you own just the Dow, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you can buy that itself as a stock. Then you own a piece of BlackRock, and if you own BlackRock stock, you own all this. So it's not, you're right. It's not as simple as just these guys are the bad guys.
And they've turned billionaire with a B, like capital letter B, into a slur in a way, which is like, and it's so funny because we started with Bernie earlier saying that the second he became a millionaire, it was no longer the millionaires and the billionaires. It's now just the billionaires that you're criticizing because you want to take all of the onus off you and put it on someone else. But like you said earlier, they're not going to distinguish between the two.
Yeah, they don't care. To the average person that sits there and says Luigi was right, they're like, oh, he got that CEO, blah, blah, blah. The CEO that he killed was worth about $40 million. Rumor has it that Crystal Ball is also worth $40 million. There's the amount of money of $40 million. It's a lot of money. Okay, don't.
Real quick, what day did this podcast come out?
It was on Monday. We talked about it today, but the clip was just making the rounds. I mean, this is also
the point is like $40 million. Whereas it's a lot of money, it's a very, very, very long way away from $1 billion. Yeah. And the guy that Luigi killed had $40 million. If you foment this kind of class warfare, if you're into that, Bill Burr, they're gonna come for you.
So I just have a question, genuine question on your guys' opinion, and the audience. Feel free. I'll ask you guys this. Bill Burr's podcast. I was curious. I mean, this is incitement to violence.
I didn't know what to put for the thumbnail because is what he doing actually inciting violence?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
So the principal rule, as someone who works in media and podcasting with a particularly large show, is that you cannot direct people to commit harm against another group of people. It may not cross into illegal territory. What would make something illegal is to direct a specific action. So if you said, I think this group of people, something should happen to it, like Bill Burr did, that's not illegal, but it violates every terms of service of every podcast platform. In this regard, I looked up his podcast. It has not been removed from, I believe, anywhere. And not only that, he has 2 large sponsors. I'm not in the business of trying to create, well, I don't know. This is the question. Do we believe it appropriate based on this man going on his show and saying that a class of individuals should be murdered? How do we feel about what, how do I phrase this? The left has no problem and had no problem for a very long time of attacking the advertiser and attacking the platform to get people that were their ideological opponents removed. How do we feel about that right now? Should we shout out the sponsors for sponsoring this show and saying they should pull their ads from his show the same way they did to us? Or should we say Bill Burr should be allowed to advocate for this murder and we're going to stand back and let him do it?
Here's what I think. I think we need to go back to just ignoring people that have an IQ lower than room temperature.
Well, I mean, that doesn't really.
I never really follow it. Yeah.
Back to the question. I mean, do you guys?
You know what I mean?
I'm genuinely curious what y'all think.
But that's what I'm getting at is like there was a time before cancel culture where people who had dumb opinions, we just said, man, whatever, he's saying a thing over there.
Right. So the question then is not do we ignore it, or I suppose you can say that would fall into the just let him advocate for this murder and we're not going to be involved in it. Is that the
We're
appropriate thing to
not.
do?
We're actually advocating for the opposite. Here we're calling it out. We're like, look at every side of this and look at what's been. We're actually giving it some air and some discussion. I think that's really what it needs.
Put a 1 in the chat if we should engage in cancel culture, and put a 2 in the chat if we should let Bill Burr call for whatever he wants to call for and just let him mind his own business. I mean it sincerely. I'm not saying that's why I didn't name the sponsors or mention which platform or anything like that.
And this language that you're hearing right now, not just what he's saying, but the othering of people that are more successful than you are is rampant in a lot of corners of the internet right now and in America in general. And he is, in a way, his talk about the degradation of the middle class is indicative of that mindset now, where when I look at this, I see there is a difference between the type of person who sees this person who's more successful than they are and sees them as somebody who has created something that they too can achieve, and somebody who sees somebody who has created something that they just feel nothing but envy for. And you tend to find that the people who take the mindset that those who are more successful than me are somehow harming others have a very, very negative or sometimes violent mindset, and that is becoming more and more common these days because of ideas like eat the rich.
Well, here's a question.
It's looking a little split, but it seems to be leaning towards he should be canceled. So I'm doing a hard poll right now. 71%, 72% say we should call out his sponsors and his platform. So I'll let that one ruminate, as it were, but make your point. We'll see where we go.
No. What I was going to say is, go back 20 years ago. All right, so Bill Burr from 20 years ago, would he be advocating for the same thing 20 years ago when he didn't have his fortune now? Or would it be different?
I think he'd largely say a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
He would be. I feel like he's just going to say what he thinks will catch him the biggest market share. Like, there's no reason to go on a show and advocate for something like this unless you're looking at a target market that shares the opinion.
He also had the opinions recently. He was on like one of the late night shows and claimed that he basically had the greatest straw man argument to the wildfires, saying that people were saying that they were doing a bad job and making people seem like they were stupid for saying that things were going wrong when there was no water in the tanks. Right? So low info.
Wow. I mean, it's 71% with 1,300 votes call out his sponsors and the platform. 29% say leave him alone.
I will say, though, there is something to be said for cancel culture when it's done right. Like, a lot of people what we came through was unreasonable. We wanted to have conversations about the things that we found to be distasteful through all the transing and all of that. And right now, in the gaming world, some of our friends, It's Based, shout out to It's Based, they're another group. They're a group that actually came out of your Discord as well. Cool. Their guy is over in, I think it's actually Sweden, is where he's based out of, but most of his devs are here. And their whole campaign right now is this what gamers want? And they're actively calling out gaming companies for and some tech companies in the Linux realm for pushing trans stuff and saying, dude, get away from all of this.
I think we should cancel Bill Burr. We should boycott. And I'll tell you why. You make a good point about the scale of things. They're going to come out and they're going to be like, I thought you guys were for free speech and blah, blah, blah. Actually, we were always against calling for death and violence. The issue was, particularly when it came to, say, like Twitter and their gendering policies, Meghan Murphy said, men aren't women, though. That's the quote. And they banned her permanently for having said that. That's an opinion statement. She didn't call for violence. She didn't threaten anybody. She didn't insult anybody. She was having a conversation with someone. Remember when Zuby got suspended for saying, okay, dude?
Yeah.
Was that what he said? He said, okay, dude?
Yeah.
Yep.
He wasn't misgendering anybody. Someone snarkily responded to him. So he was like, okay, dude, it's like a whatever. And they suspended him for it. So he made the t-shirts. That's what we opposed. Bill Burr has sponsors on this podcast where he's saying people should die. And not just that, he's saying they need to be put down. That's what he's saying. That is not creating an imminent threat, so it's not illegal. But he's not just saying, you know, when I opened the show, I said, it's not that he wants them to die. He wants them to not be alive anymore. That's a joke from Family Guy. Mm-hmm. Quite literally, he's stated in his show, he wants people to take an action against them.
And I think what has happened is we've gotten away from rule of law. And this stuff is illegal. I remember back when, and you just had Milo on, I can't stand 3 minutes. He just takes everything over. But when he was novel and kind of a provocateur and the Berkeley riots came around, there was a female professor who actively called for burning that place down before he came on. And I remember Glenn Beck talking about it, saying, look, that's textbook definition of terrorism, because you're advocating for political gain with violence.
I'm reading the comments on his podcast, and it's funny how there are a lot of people. One of them says we need 300 more Luigis. There's people saying like Trump is racist. Here's a guy going on his show and saying billionaires are dividing people. So then he calls for harm against them. And his commenters are all saying, yeah, screw Trump, F these people. I'm like, Bill, if you want to figure out who's dividing people, it's you. It's you, okay? But let's be real. Everybody bears some responsibility for having ideological opponents. But you crossed the line. You crossed the line. So, you know, if people want, I can mention who his sponsors are. I don't know if we want to do that, though.
I mean, people can figure it out, but I do think it's worth reminding everyone. You mentioned Luigi, like he's saying, get those billionaires. In the context of just a couple months ago, there was a dude killed because he was a rich guy. Like,
it needs to stop.
This stuff is it's real, and more people are going to take action.
Yep.
Things like Bill Burr doing this. This is a far more dangerous call to action than anything anyone on the right has done. It continues to happen on the left. People have been we're saying do something about Trump, do something about Trump, do something about Trump, and then during the campaign there were 2 attempts on his life. The CEO from the health insurance company, he got killed. And now dumbass Bill Burr is out here saying this stuff. He absolutely should be taken off the air. He absolutely should lose his podcast. There should be actual repercussions for him saying that because of the things that we've seen. The right doesn't go after the left. And what happens is the left becomes empowered to continue to do this shit.
And in another level of stupidity, they will get done just after saying that he is right in this context. They will then go and say, and you're wrong for firing IRS workers and trying to save money. So everybody's stupid all around.
Yes, I don't think that there is any argument against Bill Burr seeing actual tangible repercussions from this. He should lose his podcast. His podcast should be taken off the air for calling for the death of people.
The last episode is not on Apple.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is on Spotify, though. And Spotify does not have a report function, at least as far as I can see.
I mean,
interesting. If
you even were to dance around those kind of things, and you are on, if we say the wrong thing on this podcast, right? The show gets taken off the air, and YouTube will be on the phone with Tim, and he'll get a strike.
Oh wait, sorry, I was wrong. I found it. It's there.
Like, we have to be, there are certain things that we have to be very, very careful. There are jokes and memes that we cannot say, that I'm not going to say, but if you, and they're just memes, they are just jokes, but if you say them, the show will be taken off the air, and we're likely to get a strike. The fact that Bill Burr can say they need to be taken out, well, not on Rumble. I'll tell you what they are when we switch over to the Rumble after.
Oh, not on Fridays.
Oh, we don't do it. Okay, well.
Also,
but the point is, there are memes and jokes that are all over X all the time, but you can't say them on YouTube because YouTube will take them off. Bill Burr says they need to be taken out, or whatever it is, whatever the actual phrasing was, and he gets to have his podcast. in the context of people are dying because the left is attacking.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what we can do. We can do more than just a boycott. When these similar sponsors reach out to us, we'll be like, you guys sponsor a show where a guy is calling for his fans to go and murder people. That's Bill Burr. I don't know that we want to be associated with your brand.
Yeah. I mean, sincerely.
I mean, that's what we're doing with the woke and the transing and things.
We're
calling them out for it.
Absolutely. I mean, Bud Light is still reeling because of the Dylan Mulvaney stuff.
Yeah.
Was it Bill Burr that said "Free Luigi"? I'm almost positive that he did say that.
Yes.
Okay.
He said that. He said that on was it Kimmel or whatever?
So what's funny about that is think about that. So he's talking about billionaires. Fine, let's ignore that. You said that the reported net worth for him was like $10 million. For the UHC the CEO.
The CEO is like $40
million. Okay, so and Bill Burr was worth $10 million.
If you Google it, some say 10, some say 20.
Okay, so Bill Burr is worth just $20 million less than this guy who he said was totally okay with being taken out. That's insane.
It's insane. It's absolutely.
I'll be honest. These like net worth trackers are
they're
totally incorrect.
I'm just saying, like the idea. He's like, look, this guy says that this dude worth $40 million is totally. It's fine that this dude went and killed this guy, but you're saying that as a dude who's worth like half of that dude's money?
Yeah.
That's playing it close, dude. Are you insane?
He should absolutely be taken off.
Because okay, that dude's works in healthcare. You don't. You're an entertainer. Eventually, anytime something goes wrong, they're going to say, "Why don't you donate to this cause?" Eventually, they're going to say, "Well, you're not donating enough. You're not giving enough money to us. You need to fall in line, or you're going to meet the same fate as somebody like that." You don't want to piss these people off.
One of our people, Libertarian Goth, super chatted.
Oh, tell us that.
She said, "Shout out to Libertarian Goth on X." She's in the YouTube here, but she says, "Calling and advocating for violence is a NAP violation, and he should be called out. That's not cancel culture. That's common sense and accountability."
That's 100% true. The idea that it's okay for one side to do it and it's not okay for the other side, that needs to end. That needs to end, and it needs to end now.
I just think he's an idiot who's advocating against his own self-interest.
I mean, that's the point that I was making in the beginning. But sincerely, like he is putting everybody that is in a position that to someone else looks wealthy, right? If you're a dude that's low income, right? That makes $30,000-$40,000 a year and you're scraping by, right? Someone that makes $150,000-$200,000 a year, they look rich to you. They look rich to you. They may not look opulent. It may not be opulent, and they may not have jewels all over the place. And maybe you don't know the difference between $100 jeans and $500 jeans. Yeah. But to the guy that pays $20 for his jeans at Walmart, you're rich. And you're gonna pay if he's pissed off. That's exactly how this class warfare shit always goes.
Well, think about this. Okay, so he's saying that Luigi should be freed for killing a dude who worked for United Healthcare. This guy makes $40 million, works for a $1 billion company. Well, Bill Burr is worth $20 million, works for Disney on Star Wars. Well, Disney has protesters outside of their most recent movie for Captain America with people saying that Disney commits genocide because they had an Israeli actress in the film. Is it really that hard to believe that some angry person wouldn't see that as nearly the same thing?
Bill, you dumb son of a bitch, they're gonna come get you too. Absolute idiocy.
It's a matter of time.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's infuriating to hear him say that kind of stuff because, again, it is, like Tim was saying, it is just complete and total idiocy. It's the guy that has like an IQ, room temperature IQ, because again, the thing that really upsets people isn't poverty, it's relative poverty. Mm-hmm. Income inequality pisses people off. So when there's someone that can't pay their bills and they're always struggling and they look and they see people that drive a decent looking car that doesn't have any rust on it, it's a year, 2 years old, they see a rich guy. It doesn't matter that you're like, well, I only make $250,000 a year. I only make $500,000 a year. I'm not even a millionaire. I don't have multiple millions. I got a little nest egg, but blah blah. They don't give a shit. All they see is a rich guy. You stupid son of a bitch.
They don't know what your average Antifa, leftist, whatever. They don't know what the concept of rich is.
They don't.
They think someone making 100,000 a year is probably rich.
Yeah.
And then some of them are trust fund kids, and they go, "I'm not rich. My family's only worth 20 million."
You know, and it's one of those things like AK and I, we have basically the same family makeup. He not to talk about money, but he makes a lot more money than I do. However, he lives over in a place where the cost of living is much higher. Our margins are basically the same. We stress out at the same time of the month. We stress out over the same things. You know, he just has more of the same things to stress out about. And I'm okay with that because it's not my thing to stress out about. But that's the thing is like people who, when you get so far down though, it's like, I wish I had something to stress about. I wish I had, you know, a little bit of that, you know? So when we're talking about Rise of Middle America podcast, those are the people we're talking about that are ready to break. They want to hear you. They want to hear somebody that they can relate to. That's why we're voting for guys like Donald Trump that are out here saying, yep, send the Doge in. Let's go. Let's tear it up. Let's get the money back. Let's stop taking 20, 30, 40% of average people's income and stripping it from the local level. That's why your roads are unkept. That's why you've got that's why you've got 2 seasons in Ohio. Pothole, it's winter and construction because in the winter the potholes are full of ice. You know, that's the thing. If that 40-some% of income was not being taken away, if I didn't have to work 2 days out of every week just to pay the government, even though I'm probably at the last year I'm going to get a tax return, but it's like, you know, that money would be there. That money would be there for my local government. I don't mind taxes. As long as they're going where they're supposed to. If it's my local government that's saying, hey, we're actually going to fix that road that busted your ball joint, okay? That thing that cost you an extra $400, that's also the equivalent of the tax for your property. Yeah, we're actually going to fix that. And if it actually got fixed and it stayed fixed and the roads got better, I don't know if anybody's sat in a township meeting or a city council meeting. Oh, yeah. Asphalt is not cheap. Holy mackerel.
Ask anybody who's open to business.
Yeah.
We had to when you guys came in, you said that all that blacktop we put in, it was all dirt before. It was a lot of money. You have to do it. And the crazy thing is, when we're getting that stuff installed, you have to. They ask you how many like inches of like base layer, like how much do you want to be able to withstand? Big trucks can't go on that thing. That's for cars. And it was a lot of money, and we were like, we're going to go the cheaper route because you know it could be like $50,000 or more for like a driveway or parking lot.
I mean, just not that I'm asking, but like the slab for this place, just the concrete that you laid down in here had to be astronomical.
I think the slab we got, I could be totally wrong. Was it like maybe $150,000 to $200,000?
I was going to say it's 6 figures, I'm sure.
Yeah, I could be wrong. But it's wild, and I wanted it to be bigger. Yeah. But they're like the thing about exponential area size, you know, is like if when you're talking to them and you're like, how much for a 5 foot by 5 foot slab, and they're like $100. You're like, wow, how much for a 50 by 50? Then is it times 10? They're like, no, it's exponentially more. You're squaring it, so it's that one's going to cost you, you know, $75,000. You're like, oh.
And the other issue with local governments and taxes and stuff, like where I am in a township has just a lot of times you have people that are very like Ohio has a very independent voter base. They're very libertarian, especially where I am. And when you're talking about the expensive taxes with your local councilmen or your township people, especially townships, they don't have a lot of money. They don't have the ability to actually tax on income. They get a very little bit. They get slices off of state tax. And if you want your local governments to be better, if you want them to be accountable, you kind of got to go down to your local township meetings. You actually have to meet people. You have to talk to people. And the problem in our township is they're too libertarian for their own good. They don't want to be a part of the larger city populace and get annexed because they like some of the freedoms. They like being considered county, right? But they don't. But all they want to do is sit on Facebook and complain about the township not having the roads done or this, that, or the other. It's like, well, then you get out here and you come down to these meetings and listen to them and talk with people.
Yeah, it's
They need to be involved.
yeah. I mean, the average person is in a position where they're struggling. The cost of living has skyrocketed in the past 4 years, and there's a lot of people that are angry about it. But you're not like, it's not because of Sam Walton. It's not because Elon Musk. It's not because of Jeff Bezos. And Jeff Bezos, like, regardless of your politics, it's not because of Bill Gates, right? It's not because of these billionaires. They do not have any effect on your life. Like Elon Musk, if Elon Musk is having an effect on your life, it's because of stuff at Doge. Other than that, they don't affect your life. It doesn't matter how much money Zuckerberg has. These people having a lot does not mean you have less, especially if you're just working, like if you're working a regular job trying to pay your bills, you're probably dependent on a billionaire or a millionaire because that's the guy that owns the company you work for. Mm-hmm. And without millionaires and billionaires that own the companies, I mean, look, your average dude or not average dude, but the average car dealership, like a actual like a Buick dealership or a Ford dealership, those guys, that guy's probably a millionaire. You know, he's probably got a couple million because it's expensive as hell to own a car dealership.
And it all gets reinvested back in the business.
Probably does. But if you look at his wealth on paper, he's a millionaire. He probably has the same kind of money worries that most of us in here do. But he's a millionaire. He's got a car deal. Maybe he's got 2 car dealerships.
There's a trick in cold reading. You guys know what cold reading is?
No.
And there's people like, I'm a psychic and I'm gonna, and then they go like, I'm thinking of a person whose name is and then as soon as a person goes, Bill, it's like, that's right, Bill. Bill's in the room with me right now. One of the tricks in cold reading is to say something like, don't worry about the money. Always say that. So, a lot of these people who will claim to be psychic or talking to deceased loved ones or something like this, they'll try and get information off of you or get you to give the information to convince you that they're talking to your grandfather or whatever. And then one of the most common things is they'll go, he's saying something about the money, that there's something wrong. Well, literally every person on the planet has something going on with money. It's a function of life.
It's like saying something is nearby water because literally everything's by a body of water somewhere. Right. Yeah.
Yep. There's those tricks you can do.
It's those TBN false prophets, the televangelists, Exactly.
And you can say something like, he's saying something about, you used to go to a body of water and they're like, we'd go to the river and go fishing.
I live by a lake.
Right.
Well, I'm from Minnesota. There was 10,000 of them there, so I was bound to be by a lake at some point.
I wonder if there's like a manual for that.
Yeah. Well, there's a TV show called The Mentalist, which you should watch, which is about a guy who used to fake being a psychic and then gives it up to go help the cops.
What?
The Mentalist.
Oh,
it's literally about that. He used to fake being a psychic and then.
I thought that was psych.
No, that too.
That's where
they're on the same.
Psychic,
they're on the same premise, but backwards.
One's comedy and one's not.
Yeah, the other one's more of a drama.
Yeah.
Who's in that?
Actor-wise, Simon Baker and Robin Tooney.
No, I don't.
Empire Records.
No, I don't know. I'm not all that hip.
It went off the air in 2015, so
episodic TV is not my jam generally.
Bill Burr is the guy who went on Joe Rogan, was like, Joe, I turn the news on once every 2 weeks and do what they tell me to do. And it's just like, that's a terrible way to live, bro.
Yeah.
If you live by that standard, you're drinking coffee 1 week and then you're doing coffee enemas the next, and then you're swearing off coffee a week after that. When I was a kid, there was like a famous moment in news where like 1 week they were like, a new report suggests this one special drink may cause cancer. And it was like a big deal that everyone was saying coffee could be causing cancer. And then a week later, they were like, could coffee prevent cancer? And it's just like, oh, shut up.
It's just two separate studies that they decide to make content out of.
They're looking for news. I'm like, slow news day. Let's go with the coffee makes cancer or whatever. And it's like, you can find whatever you want. That's what the media does. And Bill Burr is the guy who has no idea what he's talking about. He's worse than Bill Barr.
I mean,
Bill Maher. Sorry, I was too.
Oh wow,
he's the only.
Well, he is worse than Bill Barr, to be fair.
I mean, he is worse, but
wrong.
I mean, again, in the climate that we're in, with the amount of political violence that's been going on from the left directed towards the right, or at least directed towards targets the left considers the right. Because I don't even know what the politics of the CEO was. Maybe he was a fairly left-leaning Democrat guy. Maybe he wasn't a right-leaning dude at all. But the point is, those are the targets that the left targets. They target people that are in. They target Donald Trump, and then they target the rich people. Luigi went after him specifically because he was a rich guy.
But hold on. But I thought that Luigi came from a well-off family, though, didn't he?
I mean, champagne socialist is a phrase for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the left is primed. They're primed for this kind of lone wolf. Let me go out there and be the martyr kind of stuff. We've seen it. This isn't the first one where this has happened. And after progressive decades of gaslighting people who are weak-minded, weak-willed, and don't have personal identities. People I grew up with in high school, I remember when it was the South Park joke of the nonconformists. They all looked the same. Mm-hmm. They all talked the same. The goths, they were like, yeah, that's so not goth or whatever it was. Those are the same kind of people. And the joke in my circles was that the goth kids that we hung out with, the emo kids, just traded in all their black for plaid, became the leftist hipsters, and it went on and on and on. And then they traded eventually their genitals in some cases. And it's like, those are the people now that when they think Trump is literally Hitler and that Elon Musk is the next Goebbels or whatever, these people live in a fantasy world. They don't live in a normal frame of mind. They're primed for this kind of stuff.
Thomas Matthew Crooks.
Matthew Crooks. Thomas Matthew Crooks.
Same thing. Nobody knows where he came from and what.
His mom and dad were actually mental health professionals of all things.
We're going to be going to Super Chats, but I have to read just one quick more headline because, my friends, it's happening. Americans on food stamps could be banned from buying bad food and sugary drinks, Trump USDA chief says. I knew it. I ordered all that Taco Bell the other day.
Just in time.
It's
You
starting.
did say that, too.
It's starting. That's why I ordered 1,000 Pop-Tarts.
Is it shelf stable?
Because they're decently shelf stable. Because, now that RFK Jr. is in, no more McDonald's, no more cheeseburgers.
Nope. You're not getting that Taco Bell from my cold dead hands, my friend. We will keep it.
Have you guys seen G Prime 85's new comic?
Dude, with the beats. I had the double take because I thought he was holding a set of testicles, and it was like, what is that?
I don't think that your Taco Bell is in any danger because the point is it's only talking about people that are not paying for their own. If you're on the
that might radicalize the left even more than anything, taking away the SNAP benefit.
Yo, this is
too good.
I love the idea.
Shout out to George Alexopoulos. Follow at gprime85 on X. Mm-hmm. It's a young boy with some heart candy, and he says, "Will you be my Valentine? I got you some hearts." And then it's RFK Jr. judo chopping the candy, and it's, "Wait, kids, don't eat those. They contain red 40. That dye can cause cancer. Exchange these healthy red beets instead." And then he's giving a salute as the kids hold beets.
I mean, look, man.
And RFK's all ripped.
I don't know if you know it or not, but you can actually use beets as a sweetener.
Well, that's what when you buy white sugar, it's usually beet sugar.
Ah.
Yeah, people think it's cane sugar. If you buy cane sugar, you bought cane sugar, but a lot of refined sugar is just from sugar beets. So
Dude, pickled eggs and pickled beets are a staple around my place.
Dude, G Prime always makes the best comics. Yep. It's like this is not it's family friendly. He's just literally taking candy and giving them beets. It's great.
G Prime actually was a part of its base game jam this last round.
Look at how he drew the veins on
awesome.
RFK Jr.'s arms.
Dude.
That's so good.
Jacked.
He's just judo chopping.
I am like, listen, I'm pro like aspirational stuff. More attention should be given to people in good shape, and less attention should be given to people that are too fat to ride in Ubers and the like.
Well, I mean, look at what happened with Lizzo. And
Good for her. Yeah, amazing.
Exactly.
Very based.
I'm pro Lizzo losing weight now. I mean, it's great.
You know those videos people make where it's like one person films them walking and they say, "I'm insert group. We do this," and then they switch. There's one from morbidly obese people, and they're like, "We're plus size travelers. People think we shouldn't have a right to travel," and it's like, no, shut your mouth. No one is saying you have no right to travel. We're saying you're too big.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not a disability. It's a life choice. I got no problem. Eat whatever you want. I'll deep fry a Twinkie for you if you buy it off me. That just means with that choice, you're buying 2 seats. Ain't nobody mad about it. Just buy 2 seats.
Right.
Or travel by foot, and then you can order 1 seat once in a while.
Sorry, Dank Demos, you need to get Uber XL.
Yep.
Well, Uber XL is very comfortable. You know what I mean? All right, we're going to Super Chat. So smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know, and go to timcastpremium.com. That'll redirect you to Rumble Premium, where if you use promo code TIM10, I have to say it like that because when I said TIM10, people spelled TEN. It is TIM10. You get $10 off your annual subscription. And we have a new Green Room episode up tonight. Not to mention the last several Green Room episodes have been just very good, very entertaining. You will love them. And of course, we have 2 feature-length documentaries. If you go to rumble.com/TimPool, Infringed and Game of Money, available to Rumble Premium users. Let's grab your Super Chats. We got Kyle. He says, can we please start using the resources we have in Alaska instead of relying on other countries? We have 775 million pounds of cobalt and very large oil reserves that are just sitting there. I think we should invade Alaska.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing I learned about what's happening in Alaska. You know, we're talking about all of these programs that are DEI that are getting stripped out. I believe it was Weinstein. Alex Weinstein was on Joe Rogan talking about how we need to be careful about some of these programs that existed pre-DEI, because there's one specifically there that is to gain access to legitimately disadvantaged people and vets and whatnot to the industry. So when it comes to all of that, now you have big corporations that are just money hungry, and we have to watch out for the weaponized confirmation bias, right? Yeah, let's just cut everything down, and we don't stop to go, well, let's see how many of these programs are legitimate, and if they are being a bit discriminatory, if they're doing more good than harm, let's actually fix them instead, because now you have people in Alaska who generally benefit from these programs are being targeted by big corporations. So let's ask the question sometimes before we just say, get rid of it.
All right, Big Cheese says, me and my wife held our daughter as she entered heaven 7 years ago, and I cried in front of my wife and her in front of me. It is okay to cry in front of your wife from time to time. So this morning on the Culture War, Myron Gaines was of the position that men should never show emotion in front of their women, girlfriend or wife. I believe that's incorrect. And, I was talking to my wife about this, and my attitude was like, I got to be honest, everybody agrees if you're a man who cries in front of anyone over something nonsensical, like you got yelled at work, no one's going to respect that. And to be honest, if a woman was crying because her boss was mean to her, most guys wouldn't respect that. But I also kind of feel like if you're a dude who is scared about what other people might think of you if you show your emotions, I think that's weaker than just crying. So like that's why my position is guys can cry if they feel they have to, and there's reasonable times you can cry. So I describe it as, if a dude came back from work and he was like, my boss was mean to me in front of everybody, you'd be like, geez, calm down. But if a dude watched like his dog die or his son die or something, and he's standing there at a funeral crying, no one's going to assume he's weak. In fact, I actually described it like this. If you walked up to a man who was crying because his son died, and he was with his wife, and you chuckled and said, this guy's such a weak pussy, he'd probably rip your esophagus out and beat you with it. Like, I would, that's not, that guy crying is not weak. That's a terrifying, that is rage and pain liquefied in that man's face. People cry for different reasons. Women cry when they're happy, and they cry when they're sad. Men cry when they're extremely angry and feeling deep negative emotions, which could be sad and rage combined. So just, you shouldn't lump it all into one thing. You know what I'm saying?
Perfect example in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. In the first few episodes, Mustang, when they're at the funeral, after the homunculus kills his partner, and he's standing there, and he says it's a terrible day for rain to his partner, and she's like, but it's not raining, and then he puts his hat on, and a tear drops. Yeah, it's like that's the epitome.
It's the anime Rivers,
right? That's the epitome of men in the moment, just leaking out that pain and trying to force it into a place where it's appropriate.
But just to clarify the difference of like a guy who's crying over a spilled glass of milk and a man whose best friend died in front of him, I would warn any person to assume that man is weak, because in that moment of blind rage, you end up with stories where that dude's son was raped and he went to the airport when they were doing the transport, and he put a bullet in that guy's head. Like,
That guy's a hero.
well, I don't condone vigilante violence, because the problem with it is the same as the death penalty. Like, sometimes people get things wrong, and when you advocate for action like that, what happens when you're like, oops, an innocent person just lost their life? So that being said, we'll grab some more super chats. All right, we got Jason Dixon, who says, Tim, I have a great guest suggestion, or wait, you have him on your show already. Great job. Shout out to Roma Nation. All right, so I'm going to read, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we got a bunch of super chats I'm going to read. Jason Dixon, super chats, Roma Nation, Roma Nation, Roma Nation, Roma Nation. Very interesting.
Look right here.
Jason Dixon also super chatted, Roma Nation, Roma Nation, Roma Nation. So he super chatted, I believe, 8 times, and 7 of them are just saying Roma Nation 4 times. And then you have stickers.
Yes, I'm thinking about actually figuring out how to get these in our merch. It's a stylized heart with wings that says Jason Dixon on it, like you would put I Heart Mom. And I've made these at home. These are like your home craft versions of them. I'm leaving them here for Tim, but I think we should have some official ones.
We'll work on that.
Jason Dixon super chatted again. I've got a fever, and the only prescription is more Roma Nation.
Oh, this guy is fun. I love him, man.
He's a good dude.
Yeah,
Shout out, Jason. Kevin White says graphene. Well, Ian's not here. Okay. Jason Dixon with another super chat. He's going off.
Oh, man.
He says, if you wish to network and find like-minded people, join timcast.com, join the Discord and community network, and become the next Roma Nation.
Base.
I mean, it's really amazing. I mean, this is what we were hoping to accomplish by, with timcast.com, we were trying to find ways to make it extremely valuable to be a member. But the one thing we always talk about, how community is the most important thing. Like I say, founding fathers met in bars and pubs, shared these ideas. That's why free speech is so important. When we lost the church, that was where people met once a week to share those cultural ideas. I said, like, we should do these coffee shops so that you have a place where if you go to hang out, there's going to be like-minded individuals because they know what Cast Brew is. And then we were like, we'll start off with the Discord server. I was like kind of not, reluctant to even do something like that. But after a conversation, we were like, all right, let's make it work. If we get some good moderation in there, make a community. Ideally, people will meet each other. I'll tell you why I don't like remote work. Somebody will be in the kitchen, and I'll walk in, and then I'll say something like, oh, have you ever put butter on a Pop-Tart? I was watching Family Guy, and they'll be like, Special Mike goes, do we have a toaster? And I was like, we don't have a toaster. So now we're buying a toaster. Raymond was like, here's some toasters. Mm-hmm. That spontaneous interaction brought to the point we actually need a toaster, something that wouldn't have happened if that interaction didn't occur. And oftentimes ideas in businesses are born just through people communicating with each other. So if you have millions of people watching Timcast IRL, but they're all in their little spaces, nothing can happen. We made the Discord server. We said everyone should go into it because now people are going to be constantly spreading those ideas. They are now instantly connected. And if one person says, I have a toaster, and one person says, I have a Pop-Tart, and one person says, I have butter, you now have the makings of 3 people making a video where they put butter on Pop-Tarts. And now it never would have happened without it.
Basically our crew, our crew formed.
Exactly.
Dang.
Yeah, not only that, but that's exactly how I came up with the idea of this show. Myself and Taylor. Taylor's actually one of the hosts of Sunset Rants, which is one of my other shows right there. And we were sitting down and just talking about the world and how it is now, and it was right after the Biden election, and I felt bad because a lot of people don't get heard. Or they don't get the proper information that they need because it's either extreme on one side or extreme on the other. So what I said was, well, why isn't there some rise of the middle? Ding! And that was like the moment. I was like, oh my God. And then Roma, Rise of Middle America, it just fit like a glove.
It's got a good ring to it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's already one of the world's biggest podcasts. Like it's one of those.
Is it really?
It's a brand name. It really is.
I'll take that.
It's a really good brand.
I love it. I love it.
As a marketing guy, I'll tell you, when you go to people and if you say something like Roma Nation, like it's smooth off the tongue. It's a good brand, and
it's like Mug Club.
Yeah, the first
ring.
If you say that brand to people, they're going to assume it's already a big show. That's a good brand name. It's one of the hardest things to accomplish is a good name of a good product.
Yep.
People rack their brain. You know, like a lot of they have the auto name generators for people who can't figure things out. So you got a good thing going. But anyway, I digress. The point of the Discord was to do that, and it succeeded wildly. And we're looking at ways to expand it. As I mentioned, I'm really excited for this. I say it a million times. The Culture War show. We definitely got to have you guys on it.
Oh, absolutely.
The point of the Culture War show is members can attend, members can submit talking points for the debate subject, and then we bring up like 10 people throughout the debate from the members to join us in the debate. And I think it'd be really amazing if we get like some like liberal personality and a conservative personality, and then the members can actually come up and sit down alongside insert liberal or conservative and get to debate them. And that's your moment. Some people are going to have really terrible ideas. Some people are going to be really smart, and they're going to be like, where can they follow you? And they're going to be like, my X account is this, and they're going to jump 10,000 followers overnight. So we're hoping to make like an incubator of cultural ideas and debate that isn't just built upon people who are good at marketing. That's the reality of most people in the space is that they're good marketers. They know how to get attention, but it doesn't mean they're the smartest people in the room.
Engagement farming.
A lot of people,
Yeah.
but the key component to anyone who succeeds in any media space as an independent is they're to a certain degree good at marketing, whether it's really, really good or just kind of okay. They have that element on their team that can do that marketing, right? And don't get me wrong, YouTube falsely props up some political factions, if you know what I mean. But all right, let's grab some more super chats while we're here. And we'll grab some Rumble rants while we're here as well. Doxing Debo says, do illegal criminal aliens have constitutional rights? To a certain degree, yes, they do. He says, I thought the Constitution was written for Americans, so why are we having webinars for illegals? Indeed, it was not. The Constitution was, but the Bill of Rights put restrictions on the government that applies to anyone. So it is true, if you are in this country as a human being for any reason at any point, the reason why constitutional rights will apply to you as well is the government does not have the ability to determine whether or not you are or are not a citizen. If we told police you are allowed to infringe upon the rights of illegal aliens, or if we said illegal immigrants have no rights, okay, what happens then is a cop can walk up to you and say, I'm going to assume you're not a citizen, therefore I'm now allowed to detain and deport you or arrest you. And it's like, no. I'm an American citizen. Okay, prove it. Fine, I will. Hold on. You have a Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable search and seizure. If you want to be protected under the Fourth, that means illegal immigrants are as well, because the police aren't allowed to search you for no reason. So that's just the way it's going to work. Yep. Now, I don't think they should be buying guns because they're criminals, and there should be restrictions in that regard, despite the fact I think self-defense is a human right. But there's complicated discussions to be had there.
The Constitution lays out the powers that the government has, but the Bill of Rights is a list of no's. So anything that the government's not allowed to do to American citizens, it is going to have to be that it's not allowed to do to non-U.S. citizens, if they're inside the United States. There have been arguments about what the government's allowed to do and isn't allowed to do outside of the borders of the U.S., but inside the U.S., if you are a human being in the U.S., the government has to abide by those rules because it's a list of no's for the government, not a list of no's for people.
It's due process. It's incumbent upon the government. It's to prove that somebody is here illegally. Like if I looked like somebody that shouldn't be here and they detained me and they're like, we're pretty sure this guy goes with the rest of them. It's on them to prove that. I should be able to present my documentation, obviously, but at least should be a process for that to happen, for me to defend myself, regardless of my known state of citizenship.
There is also a reality in this, in that if the police suspect you are committing a crime, they can detain you.
Right.
Yep.
So if there is reasonable suspicion that you are an illegal immigrant, they can stop you. And if you happen to be an American citizen, they're allowed to do that. I do think that's totally reasonable. So Fourth Amendment is unreasonable search and seizure. If a cop stops you and says, look, with all due respect, someone just broke into a liquor store, they were closed, stole the money out of the register. Witnesses described the person as a guy who's about 5'10", wearing a black beanie and a black hoodie. You're a block away. You are wearing those clothes. We're going to search you. I'd be like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. You're being detained. I'm being detained. You are. Okay. We're going to search you. They're not allowed to stick their hands in your pockets. That's considered unreasonable. But they can pat the outside. So there's things that are reasonable. Let's grab this Rumble rant from Robear93. It says, Tim, I watched Culture War and Truth is Love today. Have you seen Gerald during Truth is Love? And what are your thoughts? Ian, I hate you so much. Keep rolling that D20, bro. God bless. Culture was really good this morning. We had Candace Horbach and Myron Gaines, as well as Ian on the show, talking about adult content in society, whether it's good or bad, the restrictions, as well as dating, men and women, expectations. And it was good and very interesting. All right, let's go. Conservative B says, love that Timcast is part of Rumble Premium now. Got Premium back in November, and your show being added was like having my investment double in value. I really do appreciate it. I did see people saying they were thanking me for getting them such a great deal with Rumble Premium. All existing Timcast members that were active right before that point get free Rumble Premium as long as they remain active on timcast.com as members. So then you're in the Discord, you're part of the community, but you also get to watch all of the amazing Rumble Premium content included, because the guys at Rumble are very based and very good.
Is that bit that we shot earlier before this show, Green Room, that'll be on there?
Yep, that's the Green Room show.
Cool.
So on rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Yeah, so it's like behind the scenes pre-show. And we're still hammering it out. I want to incorporate more of how we actually set up IRL in those, meaning once you guys are done talking and we're getting ready for the show, the cameras bring you in, and then everyone gets to actually see how we're setting the show up. I think that'd be cool.
Dope.
Behind the scenes.
Dope.
Little John says, so glad Ian isn't here. Phil is the best. Listened for years. First time commenting. Timcast for life. Ban Ian. I can't stand when he talks. Keep up the good work. Guys, the thing is, you got to have Ian. You got to do it. I don't know why people. It's funny because people do not want homogenous lack of conflict. It's like a known thing that humans want some kind of conflict and some kind of conflict resolution. There's this thing they do in music. Maybe Phil knows about it, where if you don't resolve a bar or whatever, people get frustrated. They get angry. Mm-hmm. So when we're having these conversations and Ian's rolling 1s or 20s, it works really well. And I do have to add this. People don't understand. Ian is actually really good at being on podcasts and like doing shows like this. Mm-hmm. Whether you like the sound of his voice or his opinions isn't what I mean. Whether he derails, that's not what I mean. The average person, when presented with a microphone at a desk, will not talk at all. It's not an easy thing for the average person to do. Some people can do it, some people can't. Ian, he can, for better or for worse. You know what I mean?
Ian's great. It's just that he has to remember that the point of the podcast is to share different ideas and to say we shouldn't voice your opinion because spooky things will happen is outside of what I'm going to listen to.
Let's be real. The people who are like, I don't like Ian, he shouldn't be on the show, they loved it when Phil and Ian argued and Phil knocked Ian back.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's conflict and resolution.
Yeah.
I'll keep it simple because it's not like we have Ian here literally because we want to argue with him, but Ian often presents ideas that are counter to ours that we argue against, and that's kind of the point of having a conversation on issues. Mm-hmm. We're not just going to bring on. Imagine if we just had 4 people that completely agreed on everything and with the audience. It's like, I understand.
Like The View?
Right. Even though I get it. Maybe we'd have more viewership, but I don't think that's genuine.
Even what you said earlier about you wanting people to be in the office because one person mentions a toaster, one person mentions a Pop-Tart, and one person mentions butter, you'll find yourself down new avenues when somebody presents a wacky idea or even just one contrary to your own.
Ian made a really great point that I thought we all started laughing. This morning on the Culture War, we were talking about coupling and monogamy and things like this. I mentioned that for most of human history, humans, their lives were the exact same as their grandparents. And a little boy grew up next to a little girl. And when they were 16, they were spending time together. It wasn't an arranged marriage, but they grew up together. Their worldviews were identical. Their view of men and women were identical. Their view of success was identical. And by the time they were 18, they got married. Their wants, desires, and goals for life were completely aligned because their world was very similar, and that's very different today. Now it's like some dude from California meets some chick from Connecticut. They have wildly different moral structures and worldviews, and then they get divorced right away. Candace pointed out that actually before modern history, it was polyamorous. One alpha guy getting all the women, to which I think it was... I then mentioned, well, Elon's got 12 kids, and then Ian said, on paper... that we know of. And I'm like, we all started laughing. It is a good point.
I mean, he's trying to repopulate the earth. He's so concerned about population decline. He's just living up to his own rhetoric.
Well, good for him.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I see the consistency in his.
He's like Thanos. He's like, fine, I'll do it myself.
I am inevitable.
I mean, I told you.
I'm inevitable.
I told you he was trying to keep up with Nick Cannon.
Yeah.
Right.
One way or another, he'll make biological or technological children, right?
Hey, man,
That's why he needs social security numbers. The math doesn't math out. We're gonna run out of numbers at some point.
the criticism, I suppose, is that he's not monogamous. My only concern is, well, for one, I don't know him. I just hope he can be there for each of his kids in a way a father needs to be.
That is very true.
Yeah, I'm not saying he wouldn't be. I'm saying I just hope it's something he considers.
I don't think it can be the same, though. I don't think it can be the same. As even if he's there in a way,
That's true.
At his place and status, there's only so much time. Even myself and Rome and I, we have full-time jobs. Everyone on our crew has full-time jobs. This is taking time on a Valentine's Day away from my wife, who's sitting in the bedroom watching us right now because she's proud of me right now.
I am a big fan of chivalry, and I looked up the. We were on the morning show. I looked up chivalry as we were discussing it, and I don't completely agree with the literal chivalry, but the idea of like being honorable, being true to your word, taking responsibility for your actions, being generous and kind to those who deserve it. I think that's all particularly based. However, that being said, the 10 Commandments of chivalry, which are not absolute because chivalry did not have any, actual direct literal guidelines. However, in a French book, they wrote, "Thou shalt believe all the church teaches and observe its directions. Thou shalt defend the church. Thou shalt respect all weaknesses and shalt constitute thyself the defender of them. Thou shalt love the country in which thou was born. Thou shalt not recoil before thine enemy. Thou shalt make war against the infidel without cessation, without mercy. Thou shalt perform scrupulously thy feudal duties if they be not contrary to the laws of God. Thou shalt never lie and shalt remain faithful to thy pledged word. Thou shalt be generous and give largesse to everyone. Thou shalt be everywhere and always the champion of the right and the good against injustice and evil." 99%, I'm totally on board. Be true to your word. Your word is your bond.
Yeah.
Be honest. Be dutiful. Fight for what is good and justice. Do not recoil before your enemy. I love this. You are to be a man. You are to wake up. I'm gonna give a shout out to Andrew Tate. You can criticize him all day and night, but he has a couple really great quotes. Two of my favorite ones. And again, I know a lot of people on the right really don't like the guy, but whatever it is, these two are good. One, he said, "If I wake up," he says, "when I wake up, it doesn't matter if I'm sad, if I'm bitter, if I'm tired, if I'm angry. I'm a man. I have a job to do, and I'm going to do it. How I feel doesn't matter." And I'm like, it's a really good point.
Yep.
Men have a duty. You're going to wake up every day, and I'm like, how do I get to this point with the show? I wake up every day and I say, I have to get the show done at this time. I feel guilt if I do not do my duty. And the other one he said is, a rocket ship doesn't pause halfway to the moon and wait and take a break. It pushes as hard as it can until it reaches its goal. And I'm like, there's a reason why this guy is influential and has a lot of fans. It's very inspirational. And if, he's got a bad background or whatever it may be, I don't care. Stick, Sex, and Hammer, really smart guy, made this point. I was at an event. Someone asked a question and quoted some white nationalist guy. And then I said, hold on, like that dude is a prominent white nationalist and I feel like we're being baited. And Sticks, without hesitation, says, it doesn't matter. If the idea is good, we're not going to call the idea bad simply because a bad person said it. And I said, here, Stick, Sex, and Hammer. That's a good point. Anyway, my friends, smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Become a Rumble Premium member. Go to timcastpremium.com and sign up to support the show. And not only do you get access to the Green Room, our 2 feature-length documentaries, our uncensored call-in show Monday through Thursday, you're going to get Steven Crowder and Dan Bongino and Charlie Kirk and all of the rest in one epic place. So it's so far so good. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. Not to mention, since we joined and started cross-streaming, our views are up like 70%. Sick. Tremendous. Nice. Tremendous. So everything's coming up Millhouse. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Roma Nation. Do you guys want to shout anything out?
Yeah. You can find me on X at @therealRoma_AK. I'm the host of Roma Nation over here with Scrapjaw. We got me the website, riseofmiddleamerica.com. like I said, we've got other shows that we got going on right now. We've got Sunset Rants. That's with Biddy, Taylor, Mel, That Valley Girl, D. I want to shout out to them. Fluffy Hobo, he does our FAFO Friday.
Shout out to Fluffy. He's having. I think they're taking the night off though. They're actually watching us right now.
Normally they do it on Fridays, but he's actually doing the show tomorrow just so that we because we're here.
Yeah,
which is cool. But yeah, you got anything?
Yeah, no, just riseofmiddleamerica.com. That's where you can find all the stuff. You can find me at Scrapjaw everywhere. It's SKRAPPJAW everywhere. So come find us. Thanks, Tim, for having us.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah, we definitely got to have you guys back.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. Please check out Pop Culture Crisis Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. See you there, guys.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. You can subscribe to my page on Twix. The band is All That Remains. New record dropped on January 31st. It's called Anti-Fragile. You can go check it out on YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, Deezer, the internet. And don't forget, The Left Lane is for crime.
And one last thing, too. We got to get Sinoski on next. So, Quiet Part Podcast. And we definitely got to have. So, to all of our members on the Discord who have launched these shows, we're going to get you on, same as Roma. And we're definitely going to have you guys back. Because the most important thing we can do is incubate and grow and develop and build culture. So, we're looking for someone who wants to make short films. And it's a tough job. We need someone with top-tier skills who can really handle it, who wants to be in this area on the East Coast. And I'm hoping that you guys are just building culture and making stuff every day as it is. And we'd love to have you on the show as we start, this year. We're moving forward. So thank you all so much for hanging out. We're back.